Niners forecast.
You guys are going to hear it. The latest from the locker room, the latest from the podium, the latest scuttle from the players.
On your proud home of 49ers football.
Touchdown!
KNBR, the sports leader. Your faithful fix with your host Larry Krueger begins now.
And away we go. Welcome to 49er Forecast. Larry Krueger back with you on a Saturday, live from Philadelphia. That's right. We got on the bird. We went to Philly. And we're here in Philadelphia, where tomorrow the 49ers take on the Eagles in the NFC wildcard game. The wildcard playoffs get rolling today, or I should say tonight. It's actually kind of a late night schedule out here. The first game today is not until, I think, 4:30. Does that sound right? 4:30 Rams-Panthers. And then 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific, Packers-Bears from Soldier Field. And, of course, Raph is producing today. He's a big Bears fan. So, Raph, good luck to your Bears. Bears are 11-6. Packers are 9-7-1. Green Bay's favored. How about that? Green Bay is a 1.5-point favorite. Yes, I know. Green Bay is a 1.5-point favorite in Chicago. And I hate to say it, Raph, I kind of like the Pack, which makes probably a lot of people say, you know what? Let's go bet the Bears. If Krug likes the Pack, then let's double down on the Bears.
Bears got to score early.
Yeah, Bears have got to score early. Bears got to run the ball. In fact, I want to talk a little bit about the Bears for a second, because I think that the one game that if I'm Kyle Shanahan, I would point to when I was talking to my 49ers and getting them ready to face this Eagles team tomorrow. 6 weeks ago, the Bears ran all over Vic Fangio's defense. All over. 47 carries that day, 6 weeks ago, for 281 yards. They absolutely ran all over this Eagles defense. And if I'm Kyle Shanahan, I'm looking around, I'm going, hey, guess who the All-Pro? By the way, congratulations today. Three Niners named to the All-Pro team. Christian McCaffrey, Kyle Juszczyk, first-team All-Pro at their position. Trent Williams, second-team All-Pro at left tackle. Eddie Pinheiro got screwed, by the way. There were 18 players listed as first-time All-Pros, including 5 on special teams. But Eddie Pinheiro didn't make it. What an incredible year he had. But Vikings kicker Will Richard made the first team. Brandon Aubrey of the Cowboys made the second team. Richard only missed 2 kicks and made 11 from 50-plus. Aubrey, I should say, missed 6 kicks, all from 50-plus. But he still missed 6 kicks. Pinheiro went 28 of 29. I mean, come on. He missed 1 kick all year. The other guy missed 6. And Aubrey makes it over Pinheiro? That's bizarre. Pinheiro was 28 of 29 on field goals. And it wasn't like he was a joke from beyond 50. He was 6 of 7 from beyond 50. His only miss all year wasn't it like from 62 or something like that? It was a ridiculously long kick that they just tried for the heck of it. Otherwise, the guy was perfect. Pinheiro tied for the league lead. He made 96.6% of his kicks. I think at some point you got to ask yourself, if you're Eddie Pinheiro, what do I got to do? What do I got to do to make the All-Pro team? Don't tell me, well, if you just made that 162-yarder, if you hadn't been 96.6%, if you had actually been 100%, then and only then you'd be an All-Pro. So that's the latest news. CMC and Juice, first-team All-Pros. Trent Williams, second-team All-Pro. Eddie Pinheiro screwed out of the All-Pro team. And by the way, the All-Pro team is more prestigious for those who are like, well, what about the Pro Bowl and how does this all work together? The Pro Bowl is definitely a great thing. All-Pro means more. There's only one All-Pro, first-team All-Pro at every position. So if you're All-Pro, you're the best at your position in the league. So think about that for a second. The 49ers have one of the best offensive linemen in the league. There's only 10 all pro linemen. They have our first and second team. Trent Williams is the second team left tackle. So they have one of the 10 best offensive linemen in pro football. According to this vote, they have the best running back in pro football, and they have the best fullback in pro football. All the more reason to run the heck out of it against Philadelphia on Sunday. Run the ball. Run the ball. The Eagles have not been a great run defense. And when you look at that, when you look at the 281 Chicago ran for, now Chicago's got a really good interior offensive line led by Drew Dahlman. They're really good. But Brian Robinson's a starting caliber back. CMC's the all-pro running back. You could make an argument that B Rob and CMC are better, sorry, Raf, than Monangi and Swift. And the Bears ran for 281. That would be my game plan for tomorrow. Run the heck out of the ball. Run the heck out of it. There's two matchups. There's the Niners defense against the Philly offense. And Philly's offense has been a little dysfunctional. The Niners defense, as we know, is challenged beyond belief. They're beat up. They're injured. They just missed 17 tackles. They're fatigued. They're signing guys on Wednesday and Kazir White that may get snaps on Sunday. I mean, that's never a good thing. You've got Eric Kendricks and Garrett Wallow starting at linebacker. Do I need to say that again? Garrett Wallow will be starting for the Niners at linebacker. So, yeah, if you look at this matchup, you'd say, well, Philly has not been. They've not necessarily been all that great at running the ball. But since Fred Warner went down in the Tampa Bay game, the 49er defense is allowing opponents a 47% success rate on designed runs. That's the third worst mark in the NFL. And now here comes Saquon Barkley, who had 900 less yards than last year, but is still a hell of a back. And to me, can the Niners stop Saquon at all? What I guess my biggest fear in this game is that the Eagles are going to come out. They're going to run Saquon at the Niners' depleted defense. They're going to move it down the field. They're going to score. And then all of a sudden, it's like, 49ers playing from behind. Fangio's defense, always really, really good. And just the pressure that they can bring. And Fangio is known as a guy who's a master of disguise. He's the master of disguise. So what does that mean? If he shows you a run-heavy look, as far as what his defense is, then it's he's going to rotate into something else. If he's showing you a lot of simulated pressure, he may not bring any. He may bring guys from places that he's never brought them before. He really is a master at disguising things and really fooling the quarterback into maybe just one mistake, but it could be a crucial mistake. And that's where Vic Fangio is really, really good. But once again, you look at this Eagles team, some of the teams that have gone against them in the second half of the year have had a lot of success running it. And if the Niners could run it, I think that would be a huge thing. Now, couple thoughts. We got a great hour for you. Chase Sr. is going to stop by in a bit. I really like Chase Sr., but he's the perfect guy to talk to right now. He's from Chat Sports. He's the star of Chat Sports. He does a YouTube channel on the Niners, and he does another YouTube channel on the Eagles. So you can sit there and call him a carpetbagger and all this stuff, and he's this and he's that. Whatever. There's all these people that really hate on Chase Sr. He's a Pennsylvania kid who grew up in Philly, and he's a Philly guy. So he's more of a Philly fan than a Niner fan. but he lives in Texas and he works for Chat Sports and he does a ton of stuff on the Niners. Does a ton of stuff on the Eagles, and he might be one of the best guests that we could come up with today because somebody who really knows both teams on a very, very high level. So he's going to stop by in about 10 minutes, and we'll chop it up with Chase Senior for a while later on this hour. Couple key things before we get to our keys to victory, and then we'll break down the depth charts on the back end with whatever time we have. But a couple things to think of, keep in mind for this matchup coming up tomorrow. One, the 49ers are the second least penalized team in the NFL. They do not draw a lot of flags. They play clean football. They're only averaging 6 penalties per game. Second least penalized team in football. They won't beat themselves, at least on paper. On paper, the Niners will not beat themselves. Okay, so that's one thing to keep track of. The other thing, though, that makes this game kind of interesting is Alan Eck is the crew chief. And yes, Eck is from Williamsport, PA. I'm not going to go off on that. Who cares about that? I mean, I gotta think that the NFL refs are not on the take. I've got to believe that the thing's on the level. You know what I mean? So I know there are people who are like, this guy, it's a fix. I'm not going there. I'm not going with Alan Eck's crew is fixing this because he happens to be from Williamsport, PA. Now, the optics, right? The optics don't look good. What if there was the guy officiating this, the head referee in this game was from Cupertino? Do you think Eagles fans would notice? I think they would. What happens if the head ref in this game, lived in South San Francisco? Would Eagles fans notice? Yes, I think they would. But beyond that, let's get beyond that. Alan Eck's crew this year threw the second fewest flags per game, 13. They're going to let him play. So do not think that you're getting a call. Do not think, Purdy to JJ and the defender gets there early and it's obvious PI. They're not calling that tomorrow. They're not. That flag staying in pocket. Okay. They're not going to throw the flags. They're going to let them play. Who does that favor? It really depends. What I would suggest to the 49er defensive backs, it's a young group, be super physical. Do not get out hit. Do not get out physical. Bring the hat. Be physical. Test the boundaries. Don't play soft thinking, oh, I don't want to get a call against me. This crew is on record. They're the second fewest flags thrown in the NFL this year. They're not going to bail you out with penalties. So that's good and bad, right? I mean, that's good or bad depending on how this game goes. But just prepare yourself to play physical. Challenge these receivers. Challenge A.J. Brown. You could muscle Devontae Smith. I mean, you absolutely got to be super physical with Dallas Goedert. Be physical at the line. Be super physical with these guys because the refs don't throw a lot of flags. This is not a crew that throws a lot of flags. Couple other things to keep in track of or keep in count of. Philly's got his 5th overall defensively in points allowed per game, 19.1. Kyle Shanahan has described Vic Fangio as the best defensive coordinator there is. Now, it's funny too because in a playoff atmosphere, these teams are smart. Sirianni, when he was talking about Shanahan and the Niners this week, you would have thought he just was the biggest Niner fan. Oh, these guys, they are consistently competitive. And we have such respect and such admiration and such, don't buy any of it. And don't buy any of that talk. And don't buy Shanahan when he says Vic Fangio is the best defensive coordinator of all time. Once again, Vic's defense gave up 281 yards rushing, 6 yards a pop to the Bears 6 weeks ago. So I'm not saying that he's not a great defensive coordinator. I think he is. He was great at Stanford. He was great with Harbaugh in the Niner years. Shanahan tried to hire him at one point, but he went to the Dolphins and then came to the Eagles. a year later. Vic Fangio is a very good coach, but the best defensive coordinator there is, that's where it starts. You're painting it a little thick. Now, the Niners do use pre snap motion a ton, and I would expect you're going to see it a lot in this game. 70% of the Niners' offensive plays, third most in the NFL, come with some form of motion. The one thing where Philly is legitimately untested this year is they have not gone up against a team that throws it to their running back out of the backfield with any consistency. And now here comes CMC. And here comes the 49ers. And they do a lot of that. And to me, that's one of the key matchups in this game is CMC against Reed Blankenship. Reed Blankenship, the young safety, pretty good player, had 53 solo tackles. He had a pick this year. But he's the guy that's probably, excuse me, going to have to guard CMC out of the backfield. And that is a mismatch in Christian's favor. So I expect the Niners to throw the ball to CMC out of the backfield quite a bit in this game. And I think that's one of the key matchups. The other key matchup is this is a homecoming for Bryce Huff. And we brought it up to him this week. They banished you, bro. They traded you. They wanted no part of you. They sent you packing. We poked him this week. And Bryce Huff is going up against Jordan Mailata. Mailata is a future Hall of Famer, former rugby player. He's a huge physical guy, long arms. Probably going to be a Hall of Famer someday, but he's really struggled this year. He's really struggled. And now here comes Bryce Huff. And Bryce Huff is motivated. The Eagles sent him away. I would love to see the 49ers try to limit Bryce Huff's exposure on some early downs early in this game to see if you could have more in the tank later in the game. But that's a key matchup. Can Bryce Huff win against Jordan Mailata? And if he can win a couple times and get to Hurts, that can be the difference between winning and losing. All right, let's roll down some keys to victory. Couple keys right out of the chute. 49ers got to win the turnover battle. They will not win this game -2. They will not win this game -1. They probably aren't going to win this game if the turnovers are even. The 49ers have to get a turnover. The 49ers have to cause a turnover or two, and they have to win the turnover margin at the end of the day. They're not coming to Philadelphia and beating this Eagles team -2 in turnovers. Forget it. It ain't happening. It's not happening. They're probably not going to beat the Eagles if they're -1. And the Eagles have the upper hand if it's even. But what if the Niners are +1? What if the Niners are +2? I think you got to take some chances here. You got to jump some routes. You got to be aggressive at the catch point. You got to be super aggressive with the ball in the air. You got to win that turnover battle. You got to punch that ball free. The Niners have to get a turnover or two. They have to win the turnover battle to win this game. Number one. Number two, you got to run the ball. You can't put this all on Brock Purdy. An injured Trent Williams, a really good Philly defensive line. They've got Jalix Hunt is a tremendous athlete off the edge. Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter might be the best young duo inside in football. Jordan Davis is a condominium complex. I mean, he's like 5 units built into one. The guy is just a freak. I wanted this guy bad for the Niners in the draft out of Georgia. And I knew people were like, oh, he's a baby. He's lazy. He's got baby fat. He's a this, he's that. He's inefficient. Okay, all those things were true, and I knew it at the time. But look what he's emerged into now after a couple years in the league. You put him on a real team with a real D-line coach, with some high expectations. And here we are. Jordan Davis is now a behemoth. He's huge. He's strong. He's incredibly dominant against the run. He's a house. He's a mansion. And then you got Jalen Carter. And Carter might be the best movement tackle there is. He's just he moves like a linebacker. So now he's not 100%, Jalen Carter isn't, but run the ball. Somehow get those guys blocked and run the ball. Run the ball. You got to challenge Blankenship in the pass game with CMC. Already kind of mentioned that. You got to win on special teams, which the Niners should be able to do. They're the much better special teams unit on paper. And then you got to win on third downs defensively and offensively. You've got to win on the money down. And maybe the most important key to this game, Jalen Hurts is really smart. He understands the risk reward deal. So he doesn't take a lot of chances. He doesn't throw a lot of picks because he doesn't throw it into tight windows. He doesn't throw a lot of picks because he doesn't throw it deep down the middle. He doesn't throw a lot of picks because he doesn't really try to put the ball in tight spots. They don't need to. He just takes care of the football. They run it. And then when you give him an obvious run lane, he takes it. Why? Because he trusts himself and he knows he's not going to fumble. And he knows that him running the ball is one less play that he's got to put it in the air. So what you have to rush as one. I talked to Huff about this at his locker. I talked to some of the other D linemen this week about this at their locker. You can't, the Niners got to play some games up front. They're going to have to. Twists and stunts. They're going to have to move some guys around. They're going to have to create, some movement to get it done because they can't get it done. They're not winning in their front four. But you can't, in the process of playing games up front and stunting and twisting, you cannot give Jalen Hurts a huge run lane or he will take it. And you could lose this game on giving Jalen Hurts 3 or 4 wide open run lanes on some key third downs throughout this game. So that's the key. Rush is one. Do not give Jalen Hurts an obvious run lane because he will absolutely take it. All right, let's do this. Let's take a timeout. They've given us an absolute run lane, and we're going to run over to Chase Sr. and get some breakdown from him next. It's 49er Forecast on a Saturday, live from downtown Philly, where, by the way, it is raining outside right now, and but the temperature's warm. It's like West Coast. It's like high 40s, low 50s. It was like 55 degrees last night and raining. It's going to rain today all day. We're going to go watch some games, but it's rainy and drizzly and it doesn't look great outside, but it's not freezing. It's not, it's not going to be 12 degrees and icy. It's going to be in the 40s. So that's good football weather. And we'll talk more about this matchup next with Chase Sr. as we get you ready on the Sports Leader.
KNBR, the Sports Leader. This is where you get your faithful fix. Niners Nightly with Larry Krueger keeps rolling on KNBR, the sports leader.
All right, welcome back to 49er Forecast, and joining us, the man of the hour. And I say that because Chase Sr. does an amazing job. He is the star of Chat Sports. He covers the Niners. He covers the Eagles. There's probably nobody in the know on the two teams more than our next guest, and he's with us on the Yuma guest line on the sports leader to bring that knowledge to the Bay Area audience. Chase, what's going on, man? Good to see you.
Larry, good to hop on with you. Always good to talk some Niners football here on the Sports Leader on KNBR. And what a matchup we have coming up tomorrow. I can't wait for it.
Well, okay, so let's just get right into it. Do the Niners have any shot? I mean, I know you're talking to a Niner audience and you don't want to necessarily be like, oh, they got no shot. But just deal it to us straight. Do you think that they're just totally outgunned here? Because you know an awful lot about both teams. How do you see this one?
Well, we've seen the 49ers go on the road in week 1 and beat the Seahawks team that held them to 3 points on Saturday night and under 200 yards of offense and just over 4 yards per pass. We saw San Francisco as 8.5-point underdogs go on the road and beat the Los Angeles Rams. Those are two of the top teams in the NFL. And what a year that we had in the NFC West. Maybe the best division in the history of the NFL where 3 teams won 12-plus games. But it's going to be hard for San Francisco. In order to win that game against Seattle, Brock Purdy went 5 for 5 on that game-winning drive. In order to beat the Rams, a lot had to go right. You got the 4th and 1 stop to end the game, the Alfred Collins peanut punch on Kyron Williams along the goal line. Mac Jones played out of this world. Kendrick Bourne had the game of his life. You were able to generate a couple of turnovers. And all year long, the Niners have been able to win a lot of games that they shouldn't have won, right? I look at that Bears game where the offense was on fire. They were unstoppable. And so if the Niners go on the road and beat the Philadelphia Eagles, it will be such an impressive victory because the Eagles are the healthier team. They're at home. They have their rest advantage. And I think that they're the better, deeper, and talented team. But the Niners have a shot to win this game. If they have success on the ground, that's a way to eat the clock and keep that Eagles offense on the sideline, which has had a really difficult time in trying to find a rhythm that would only make it harder. And when you have Kyle Shanahan calling the offense and Robert Saleh calling the defense and Brant Boyer improving the special teams unit the way that he has this year, the Niners are one of the most well-coached teams in the NFL. That gives you a chance week in and week out. If you generate a turnover here or there, I think that the Niners could pull off the upset. But it's going to be really difficult to do, especially if this Eagles team plays their best football. Because on defense, we just saw what Seattle did against the Niners. The Eagles, since week 8, Larry, are giving up 14.5 points per game. It's number 1 in the NFL. They have some horses up front, and I think that they can manhandle the Niners' offensive line. Going to be an interesting matchup. It's possible for the Niners to pull off the upset, but again, it's going to be hard just because of all the adversity that the Niners have had to deal with and all of the injuries that they've suffered. They're just so thin.
Let's drill down here for a second on some of these things because you make a ton of great points, and there's 15 different things I want to touch on, but let's just get one here. I do a YouTube channel. You do a YouTube channel. We talk about the Niners every day, right? Every day.
Yeah.
But both of us are also true to some journalistic integrity. You don't just, you're not just dropping trow and on the show, and I'm not just screaming and crying and yelling, and I don't lose it that often. There's very few times where I get really pissed or really emotional or really this or that. I try to keep it somewhat even keel. The one time this year that I really blistered, I came out was like, what the hell is going on? Was the trade deadline.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like the Eagles are going to win on Sunday because of the Niners didn't compete at the trade deadline. If John Lynch had just offered the same thing that Howie Roseman offered to Miami for Jalen Phillips is a 49er because I think they would have taken the Niners third over the Eagles third just because it probably was slated to be a higher pick. And look what Jalen Phillips has done in 8 games with the Eagles. 41 pressures, 32 hurries, 2 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. It was an awesome trade by Howie Roseman. on the other side of things, conversely, the 49ers, since that point, have not been able to sack the quarterback at all. And, somebody made the point, I think it was Adam Kaplan on KNBR earlier today, that if the Niners can protect in this game, they got a real shot to win. I agree with that. But this is the cat that I don't think they can block, Jalen Phillips. And to me, I think the Eagles are going to get over, and I think it's going to be because they have Jalen Phillips and the Niners don't. What do you think?
I was with you, and it's funny because you and I got a lot of slack from the fan base in trying to make that argument for why the Niners should have made a move. And everybody said it's not their year. There just was no sense behind them making a trade to sacrifice future draft capital, knowing it's not their year. But then those same fans were saying going into week 18, if the Niners get the number 1 seed, Larry, and they get that first round bye, you get Trent Williams healthier, George Kittle healthier with this offense, the way that it's humming, and how Brock Purdy's spinning the football, if the defense can just be good enough, San Francisco can win the Super Bowl. Well, if you think that the Niners can win the Super Bowl, they would have had a better shot to compete for a ring if their defense was just a little bit better. And it's the defense that over and over again is letting them down. And I'll tell you this too, it's not just Jalen Phillips getting after the quarterback as a pass rusher. He's been excellent against the run. And this Niners defense, their defensive line, they are awful against the run. They're clearly a horse or two short along the defensive line. And when you're better up front, it helps out your linebacking core. The Niners linebacking core has not been good. It helps out your secondary. At times, outside of Deommodore Lenoir, your cornerback play has been suspect, and your safety play has been pretty bad for the most part all season long, outside a couple of decent moments for Malik Mustafa and Jair Brown. But everything starts up front. And the thing with Jalen Phillips is, if he leaves the Eagles this offseason, the Eagles get back a compensatory third-round pick. And so that's chess and not checkers, and that's why Howie Roseman is the best general manager going in the sport right now. And when you combine Jalen Phillips with another speed rusher and Jalix Hunt, who led the team in sacks and picks, how rare is that from pass rusher, and Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis and Moro Ajomo, that could be the difference in this game, Larry, is the Eagles' defensive line beating up the Niners in the trenches.
Yeah, I mean, I don't ask that much of my football team. All I ask is that you compete, and that includes the general manager at the trade deadline. And if they had been more competitive at the trade deadline, they would be in a much better situation right now. And now you could argue that they didn't envision this. Well, then that's their lack of belief in their own product this year and their own team. And it's so popular to say, like, no, it's us against the world. Nobody believes in us. Yeah, you didn't believe in you. Otherwise, I was the guy saying, go get Jalen Phillips. And a lot of people were like, hey, you know what? No, they're not going anywhere. Well, now you're going to see on Sunday what Jalen Phillips means to the Eagles and how hard he is to block and what he could have meant to the 49ers. And we'll see if that's the difference in the ballgame.
Aggressive businesses win, Larry. Aggressive businesses win. And what's unfortunate is that this is a wide open NFC. Wide open NFC. If the Niners were a little bit better on defense, they could represent the NFC at their crib in Super Bowl 60 at Levi Stadium.
Yeah, very frustrating. Very frustrating on a lot of fronts. All right. I also think the 49ers still have a shot. And I think, though, their offense is going to have to beat a really good Eagles defense, and their offense is going to have to carry a really suspect 49er defense. They're going to have to play complementary football, and they're going to have to run the ball. Now, my first question would be like, hey, is there any blueprint out there for the 49ers of how a team went against Philly this year? And the only thing I could come up with is Black Friday, Bears at Eagles, 24-15 Bears. Monangi ran for 5.9 a carry. Swift ran for 6.9 a carry. Bears ran 47 times for 281 yards, 6 yards a pop through this awesome defense that you said is the best in the league since the bye week, giving up 14 a game. The Bears, on Black Friday, not that long ago, wasn't like in September, ran right through them. I would say if the 49ers are really realistically going to have a chance to pull this upset, they're going to have to do the same. I'm not saying they got to go for 281, but CMC and Brian Robinson. I always butcher his name. Brian Robinson. Are going to have to be their Monangi and Swift, and they're going to have to be an overpowering duo, and they're going to have to run the hell out of it. Can they?
They can, because Kyle Shanahan's running scheme is very dynamic. And since week 8, the Eagles are the number 1 scoring defense in the NFL. They're surrendering just 14.5 points per game, which is incredible to do in this modern era of offensive football. But during that same stretch, Philadelphia is giving up 122 rushing yards per game, which would be between 20 and 25th among all defenses in the sport. So theoretically, yes, the Niners can find success on the ground against this Eagles defense. The only thing is, I don't know if the offensive line is going to be able to run block against the personnel that the Eagles have. And it's unfortunate because when the Niners do get the ground game going, that's when this offense is at its best, because then Brock Purdy operating off of play action, and just when the defense starts to cave, that's when he's at his best and he can become really surgical. But then if you try to throw the football against this Eagles secondary, they're so elite with both getting after the quarterback up front with sacks, quarterback pressures, and collapsing the pocket. But then in that secondary, they're really strong. Heading into week 18, the Eagles played their backups in week 18. The Eagles held opponents to the lowest completion percentage in the NFL at 56.5%. They allowed 13 passing touchdowns all year going into week 18. So the Niners have to find success on the ground in order to compete and win this game. I'm just not sure if they're going to be able to block it up and open up some running lanes for Christian McCaffrey, because they couldn't do that against Seattle. And this Eagles defense isn't to the level of Seattle, but it's damn close. Both Seattle and Philadelphia are long, athletic, physical, and fast, and extremely well coached.
Mike Sando, who's not, writes for ESPN, has done an amazing job covering the NFL for years. He's not a big hyperbole guy. He picks the Niners to beat the Eagles, and he says there's less dysfunction. I mean, what do you make of that? Nobody knows more Eagles than you. You're all over it, every story. The fan base is crushing that offensive coordinator. You know that they're going to try to blame him. But when Sando, who doesn't choose words like dysfunction just lightly, when he throws that out, what's he referencing, do you think? I mean, I know that's asking you to interpret somebody else's opinion, but is there a dysfunction going on with the Eagles? Because I heard Baldy on his great podcast that he does with, is it Farrar? I forget the guy's name that he does it with. They're really, really good. But Baldy came out and said, hey, look, if the Eagles can't put up 20 plus against this 49er defense with all the issues they have up front, at linebacker, how the secondary, all 3 levels they're hurting, then that will mean that they've got real internal problems. So what are these guys referencing? What are these guys referring to? What's going on behind the scenes here? Because I have a buddy who's from Philly who said, Krug, if the Niners have a huge first half, the Eagles will cannibalize at halftime, and the crowd will turn, and it will be really ugly, and it could be just one good half that wins the game for the 49ers. How do you see that?
Well, as we know, Philadelphia gets noisy, and I think some people confuse Philadelphia being a noisy, pressure-packed city with the Eagles being dysfunctional. I don't think that you can be dysfunctional in the NFL and go to the playoffs 5 straight years and 5 years under Nick Sirianni, win double-digit games for 4 straight years, win back-to-back divisional titles in the NFC East for the first time in 21 years, go to Super Bowls in 2022, which you should have won, and then win it again and absolutely dump truck the Kansas City Chiefs in 2024. And Nick Sirianni has won nearly 70% of his games. I don't think that is dysfunctional. I actually think that they're winning at a really high level. I will say this, and this more so has to do with just the nature of Philadelphia. If the Niners come out and they find success on the ground, and the Eagles have a couple of 3-and-outs offensively, and the crowd starts to moan and groan, and they start to boo, and then the Eagles offense starts to feel that pressure, and they start to play tight, and then the Niners are able to run the ball down their throats, and they're able to convert on a couple of 3rd downs, and they take like a 2-touchdown lead, and the crowd starts to turn against the Eagles. That's when it gets dysfunctional, because it's hard to operate in that manner, because in Philadelphia, when things start to get tight, yeah, you can start to piss down your leg a little bit. You can start to get a little bit nervous and things can start to unravel. I'll also say this, though, about Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. They're 5-0 at Lincoln Financial Field in the NFL playoffs. The Eagles have not lost a home playoff game since 2019, and they've been pretty dominant at home. And they play their best football and they turn it on in the postseason. Jalen Hurts has this cool, calm, and collected nature about him where he plays his best football when the playoffs come around. So I just don't think that you can be dysfunctional in the NFL and win 70% of your games and have all that success where you're out playing Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid in 2 Super Bowls. I just think it's impossible.
Let's play who's better, okay? I'll just throw out.
This is hard, man. This is hard.
It's going to be tough. This is going to be tough. Jordan Mailata, Trent Williams. Who's better?
Trent Williams if he's healthy.
Okay.
Mailata's had a down year, and the whole offensive line has really regressed. It's been a huge problem.
Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey. Who's better?
I would say Christian McCaffrey because he's been a better dual threat running back this year. But obviously, Saquon has the better all-time season, and that was last year.
Who's better, Dallas Goedert or George Kittle?
George Kittle. But Goddard is a really good all-around tight end. Yeah.
Goddard's got 11 touchdowns.
Kittle, prior to Kittle getting hurt, over a 6-game stretch, he had like 49 catches for nearly 500 yards and 6 touchdowns.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's better? Well, I don't want to go there. Who's better? Fred Warner and who do we want to go with in the Eagles at linebacker? We can go with any number of guys, really.
Well, Zach Bond was a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year and a first-team All-Pro alongside Fred Warner last year. But I'd go Warner. Obviously, he's not going to play in this.
Warner over Bond.
But Bond's damn good. And I do think that the Eagles backers combined with Cooper DeJean have a good matchup for themselves in trying to lock down George Kittle. I'll say that.
Better coach, Sirianni or Shanahan?
I don't think there's a team in the NFL that would take Nick Sirianni over Kyle Shanahan, but I do think from a game management standpoint, Sirianni at times is better. And I think in a clutch moment situation, it's been proven that Sirianni is better. But who would I rather hire as a head coach? Kyle Shanahan, because of the elite offensive mind and the play calling.
Better quarterback, Purdy or Hurts?
Big game, Jalen Hurts. But overall, who's a better passer? Brock Purdy. There are so many different ways to look at this.
This is a tough one, actually.
But look, like
Purdy's
Hurts in 2 Super Bowls
sure.
has literally outplayed Patrick Mahomes and has 7 touchdowns in those 2 Super Bowls. He's been incredible, and it's against Steve Spagnuolo. Brock Purdy against Steve Spagnuolo, he kind of struggled in his Super Bowl appearance with Kyle Shanahan as the head coach.
Better DC, Robert Saleh, Vic Fangio.
Vic Fangio, but that's nothing against Saleh because Fangio is the godfather.
It's tough, though, huh?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, what Saleh's done to maximize the Niners this year, given the players that he's lost, is one of the finer coaching jobs in the NFL this year. But Vic Fangio is just one of the best to ever do it.
Better nickelback, Upton Stout, Cooper DeJean.
Cooper DeJean's an all-pro. Upton Stout is hoping to, at one point, be an all-pro. And Upton Stout's progressed all year, and he's gotten better.
Better number 1 corner, Demo Lenore, Quinyon Mitchell.
He's been superb this year.
Better owner, Jeffrey Lurie or Jed York?
Jeffrey Lurie by far.
Better general manager, Howie Roseman or John Lynch?
Everybody say this with me. Howie Roseman.
Howie Roseman. Just on the Willie Lampkin alone, I'm going Howie Roseman. I mean,
that was your guy. That was your guy.
Come on, that was my guy. He's sitting on the Eagles practice squad.
Yeah.
Okay, this is where I'm really getting you. Most knowledgeable fan base, Niners, Eagles.
Ooh, man.
This is YouTube. This means forever.
Yeah. I'm gonna go Eagles fan base.
You fear them more. You fear retribution more.
No, I am. I'm from Philly. I would say both fan bases are very passionate. Both fan bases are extremely knowledgeable. But I think like when it comes to intricacies and nuances of football, Eagles fans are really, really smart. Niner fans are as well, but just not quite to that level. I also think Niner fans are a little bit more like sensitive and emotional, which sometimes takes away from how they can talk about and break down the game of football.
Give me the Eagle player that you would put money on has a big game Sunday. Either side of the football. Doesn't that be offense, doesn't that be defense, whatever. Any direction you want to take this. Give me the Eagle player that you think has a great chance to be great on Sunday.
I just think Jalen Carter can absolutely own Spencer Burford, Jake Brendel, or Dominic Pooney. And the player who a lot of people don't know that well, who's been better this year than Milton Williams was last year, and Milton Williams got $26 million per year from the Patriots, is Moro Ojomo. Moro Ojomo is a fantastic player, and then Jordan Davis had a career year. So the Eagles probably have the best 3 defensive tackle trio in the NFL. And from a pass rushing and run stopping standpoint, I think that they could really shine in this game collectively.
I'm going to go with Nakobe Dean. I just think that
Okay.
he's such a great blitzer, and I could see Fangio dialing up some exotics and throwing Nakobe Dean at Purdy, and I could just something about Nakobe Dean's has some magic to me. Give me the Niner, who you're absolutely convinced is going to fire huge on Sunday.
That's a good question. I think
We don't even know who's going to play, right? Ricky may not play. Trent may not
it's
even play. You got to first figure out who's going to play.
you know this player I think is one of the more underrated players in the NFL, who I think always rises up in the moment and has just been as steady as anybody on the team. Really, that's Diamador Lenore. I think Diamador Lenore is one of the more underrated players in football. I really like what he brings to the table. He can play inside, outside. He's tough as nails. His nickname is the hyena for a reason. He's never going to back down from an assignment. He said, I want Jackson Smith and Jigba. I know he got flagged, but I just love what Demo brings to the table.
Kazir White is my Niner, who I think is gonna really surprise.
If he's healthy, he's been hurt all year, really.
But I just think he's gonna get out there and probably get some reps. And I love the way he plays. He's physical. He's violent. Give me the GOAT, and I don't mean the best of all time. give me who's going to be the GOAT in this game on either side if they lose.
Okay, so like the person to blame for if they lose?
Yeah, who's gonna basically wear the GOAT horns?
Okay,
as they say.
gotcha. I would say Kevin Patullo, the offensive coordinator for the Eagles, there's an opportunity that he could lose this game by himself because sometimes he really just lacks a play calling feel and play calling sequencing. So I'll go with him on the Eagles side because I think he's the one person who could hold the Eagles back from going back to back because I think they're as talented as anybody. On the Niners side, I just think it's the offensive line that's really going to let them down. And I've been talking about this for years and years. Like Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch don't emphasize the offensive line enough. And sometimes it's good, but it's not great. But in the biggest of games against the best defenses with the most physical and violent defensive lines, this Niners offensive line lets them down time and time again. And it happened again against the Seahawks last week.
You know, it's interesting. I could see that too. I could totally see the Niner O-line being getting the blame. I'm going to say Ricky Pearsall probably gets the blame on the Niners. And defensively, it just seems like Jair Brown always is in the crosshairs. He's in the, and I just think that Jair Brown could be the guy. One of the most interesting thoughts I heard today was from Adam Kaplan, who said that the Eagles' offensive line has dropped so dramatically in 1 year. He said that their regression on the O-line, especially in the run game, is something that he's rarely, if ever, seen. He says they have the worst inside zone run game in the NFL. And then he went down the list and he's like, Mailata's having a down year, and Dickerson's got knee problems, and Juergens has got back problems, and he said he's had a down year even though he made the Pro Bowl. He's like, I don't believe he's really a Pro Bowler. Tyler Steen's not Mekhi Becton. Lane Johnson's got a right foot injury, and he's still not 100% and not practicing in full. The Niners have the better pass block and run block win rate ranking, offensive line wise, than the Eagles.
It's crazy.
That has got to be. I don't know if that's fraudulent, but that I checked that a couple times. That's legit. That is real. So you've watched it all year. What do you make of that? Is there any chance that the Eagles' offensive line is hailed at this point last year as like the greatest, potentially in 1 year could be blamed if they can't get it going or they lose this game on Sunday?
Yeah, I think it's been one of the biggest problems for the team this year from a run blocking standpoint and a pass blocking standpoint. Saquon Barkley's yards before contact from last year when he rushed for over 2,000 and set the record for the most rushing yards in a single season, regular season and postseason combined, has been down a yard to a yard and a half all season long. And he's consistently getting hit in the backfield. It's not a him problem. It's an offensive line problem. Jordan Mailata definitely has regressed. Landon Dickerson's been injured all year. Cam Juergens had an offseason back surgery, hasn't been the same guy. Tyler Steen's been fine. He's not a road grader and a mauler like Mekhi Becton. Lane Johnson has missed 7 games this year. So Jordan Mailata made a really good point earlier in the offseason. He said, or earlier this year, when the Eagles' run game wasn't there, and that's persisted all year, even though Saquon Barkley still ran for over 1,100 yards. He said, given how much we ran it last year and how successful we were in running the ball, I also think the tush push has something to do with this. He said last offseason coming off the Super Bowl was the longest it took him to recover after a year of his career. And he really felt the effects of the 2024 season because of the physical Eagles running game and how much they ran it. And I think we've seen that all year long, which is why I think Nick Sirianni said, we got to rest our starters here in week 18 because this offensive line needs to be better. They need to be healthier. I know they've been bad, still have the edge over this Niners defensive line, unfortunately, for San Francisco.
All right, it's that time. The KNBR audience needs to hear you make your prediction. Where are you on this one? I'm going to make my prediction as well. I've got a dramatic prediction that I'm going to make here at the end. Give me who wins, what's the score, how does it come down, who's the hero?
Yeah, I think this game's a dogfight. I think the Eagles win 26-23. Here's why I like Philadelphia.
Wow. Okay.
They're the home team. They have the rest advantage. They are the healthier team. And I'm a firm believer that football is won and lost in the trenches. And I just think that the Eagles are far better in the trenches than the Niners. I think that Kyle Shanahan is going to have a rebound performance offensively, but I just don't think this Niners team has the horses to keep up with the Eagles. From a talent standpoint, they're far better. They're 5-0 at home under Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts at the link. And I just think that they come into this game very well rested and ready to go.
Yep. So you're going 26-23? Is that what you got?
26-23 Eagles, yep.
We're thinking along the same lines. I have the same kind of game. I'm going to say it's a 20-20 game. I think it's going to be a real close game. I really do. And not because the Niners are so great, but I do think Niners are going to rebound off of that performance last week. I think Purdy rebounds. I think Kyle rebounds. I think they rebound. And I think Saleh and the boys are going to keep them in it. I think their whole mindset is keep us in it, keep us in it. I think they'll do it. I think they'll keep them in it. So I think what we got here is we got a 20-20 game. Okay. Eagles get the ball back just outside the 2-minute warning on their own 35-yard line. They run a couple plays, and then there it is. They get to a 3rd down, and Bryce Huff gets a strip sack, ex-Eagle, and ex-Eagle Kazir White picks it up. And the next play is Eddie Pinheiro, game-winning field goal. 23-20, 49ers win it. Huff and Kazir White get Eagle revenge. What do you think?
That would be quite the story right there.
Wouldn't
quite
that be
the story.
something?
A lot of dramatics, yeah.
A lot of dramatics. I'm headed to Philly with Kev. Everybody that we've talked to are like, hey, be careful, be careful. Some, so I don't know. I know you're not necessarily a native Philly guy, but you are a native Pennsylvania guy.
I'm a
So
native Philly guy. Yeah, I grew
you
up.
are native.
Yeah, I grew up right in the Philadelphia area. Yeah.
Okay, if you have one weekend in Philly outside of going to the game, let's say we got our Saturday free, we're probably going to watch some games. But of course, we're this show is airing. Outside of this show airing, we've got the rest of the day free.
Yeah.
What should we do with the rest of our day?
So there's a new cheesesteak spot, Skinny Joey's Cheesesteak. He used to run the
Right.
South Philly Mob, and there was just a mob documentary that came out on him on Netflix. I went there back a few weeks ago. It is a phenomenal cheesesteak, and I would say the toasted bun with the seeds and the meat to cheese ratio is phenomenal. Now, here's what you have to do. Don't get Cheese Whiz. That's fake cheese. You just got to go meet an American or provolone. And if you want to throw some fried onions in there, that's what I recommend. So go to Skinny Joey's Cheesesteaks. It's phenomenal. And it's newer, but I think it's a great cheesesteak. And then if you can go to Stateside Live, which is in the Philadelphia Sports Complex, to watch some of those games on Saturday, I think you'll really feel the energy of the lead up to a huge playoff game. And they have
better
massive
than Chicky and Pete's or whatever.
Chicky and Pete's is a really good spot. I'd recommend that to go to as well. Yeah.
All right. Hey man, always pleasure to have you on the leader. Thanks for jumping on KNBR, giving us a preview. I think it was good stuff. Thanks again. We'll do it again.
Of course. Oh, it's always a blast to talk some Niners with you.
The star of Chat Sports, Chase Sr. We got more straight ahead. It's 49er Forecast on the Sports Leader.
KNBR, the Sports Leader.
Here comes the shot. Here comes the shove.
Here we go.
Here comes the shove. The Niners are loading up inside with Kinlaw, and here's Jalen Hurts getting pushed from behind. Hasn't been stood up much this year. They have only failed on it twice. Did they not make it? They did not make it. No touchdown yet.
This is where you get your faithful fix. 49ers forecast with Larry Krueger keeps rolling on KNBR, the sports leader.
All right, it's time for us to get out of Dodge and go explore the rest of Philadelphia. The Eagles downgraded offensive lineman Brett Toth. He has a concussion. He's out for tomorrow, according to Mike Garafolo of the NFL Network. So no Brett Toth. Ricky Pearsall is – the Niners have 6 guys listed as questionable for the game. So, we're going to find out, who's going to go. Trent Williams, Ricky Pearsall, D. Winters, Luke Gifford, Keon White, and Renardo Green. Renardo Green supposedly hurt his foot on Friday in practice. My gosh. The beat just never ends. Keon White did practice on Friday. Luke Gifford kind of seemed like he went the other way, so I would expect Gifford probably isn't going to go. I don't think D. Winters is going to go. I really don't. He has not practiced this week. Trent Williams, I do think is going to get out there. I don't know if Ricky Pearsall is going to go. That's the one that's kind of 50-50. He's got a knee. He's got an ankle. It's a PCL injury. I know it's very painful. I don't know. I don't know what to say. The off season is a long time. There's a long time to get healthy, but if he can't go, he can't go. So it is what it is. 49ers are going to be challenged in this game. There's no question. It's going to be a huge challenge. And my whole thing is I don't think they can come from behind. They're going to have to get a lead and, at least in the first half and give themselves a little breathing room. I think the key in the game is going to be Shanahan's got to be ready from the start of the game to throw that challenge flag. He can't, but at the same time, the 49ers have to allow themselves to to ease into this game as far as you can't just get, there's going to be a lot of energy, high energy from the Eagles and their fans at the beginning of the game. You can't make that crucial early mistake that digs you a hole. But it's interesting. There's a lot of people that are picking the Niners to win this game. Now, the spread is going from 3 when it opened to 6, and who knows where it's going to go before game time. So the gambling public says Eagles all the way, and maybe that's the case. I'll stay with my prediction, 23-20, 49ers get it done. Westwood One Sports Radio is going to entertain you for the rest of the afternoon, or for at least coming up next. Thanks to Raph for producing. Thanks to Chase Sr. for being our guest. Make sure you tune in for the pregame show tomorrow with Adam and JD, and I'll join them for a segment. I'll also join them in the postgame right here in Philadelphia. 49ers trying to get it done, trying to move on to the second round of the playoffs. It would be great if they could do it. I think the Niners have one big shot to fire, and I do believe it's coming tomorrow. So we will be here for it. We'll report back. We'll join the guys on the pre- and post-game show. Have a great rest of your Saturday. Go Niners. Think good thoughts. And thanks for listening to The Sports Leader.
We are all faithful. Let's go! On KNBR and KNBR FM.